The last 24 years of life have been a wild ride, to say the least. As I'm filming this, I'm gonna be 24 in a week. The day I'm posting this, I will be 24. So happy birthday to me, I guess. At this point, I honestly thought I'd be further along on my journey. I thought I would have definitely had that international trip with my girlfriend. I would own a house or at least rent an apartment. And I thought I'd have all these side hustles that would make me all this passive income and I would be living the life of my dreams. And those things haven't happened yet. So there's been this deep sting in my heart where every time I'd go online, I'd see the next entrepreneur, investor, model, athlete, you name it, that was my age or younger, and I would beat myself up about it terribly. I was like, that is who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be at that level of success, and I'm not there. Now, another thing that I've recently gotten into is F1. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Oh, she's one of the Netflix girlies. I actually haven't seen the show yet. And it has changed my perspective on success so much. Most of the people on that track are my age, some of them younger, and they are breaking world records, driving multi-million-dollar cars, traveling the world, doing press conferences, and I am sitting in my teenage bedroom filming YouTube videos. But to be entirely fair, there's a lot that I've accomplished as well. I got a promotion at work this year. I've stayed close with my family. I've made and invested in new friendships, which is something that I hadn't done since before COVID. Found a sport that I'm interested in, a sport. I'm not a sports girly, so this is saying a lot, okay? I've become a lot more comfortable with saying yes and no. And so today, with all of these birthday feelings, I'm gonna share with you 24 things that I've learned in 24 years of life. Let's start with number one. Read less self-help content. Self-help content is great to a certain extent. If you're into productivity content, there's a good chance that you've heard this thing called the 80-20 principle. Now, the way I think it applies to self-help books is like this. Self-help books are for the 20%. They are there to teach you the principles of doing good stuff in your life. 80% is actually executing on what you're doing. We ultimately know ourselves the best. When we try something, we know within a couple of days or within a couple of weeks whether it is a piece of advice that helps us or hurts us. So when I read them, I treat them as more of a workbook or a textbook rather than I do a source of entertainment, if that makes sense. I don't let myself pick up a self-help book unless I have a pencil, unless I have a notepad. If I am not looking to get something specific out of the book, it is not worth my time. Number two, set a simple day at least once a week. I didn't know there was a name for this concept until I listened to one of Emma Chamberlain's latest podcasts where she talks about this concept of having simple days. Now, what is that? Simple days are days where you don't overthink anything. You do not let yourself get into project mode, get into planning mode, no analyzing, no scrutiny. You just let yourself be. I feel like the closest equivalent to describing this concept is having a cheat day when you're on a diet. Simple days for your mental health are like cheat days for your diet. But I get it. Sometimes a day is just way too much and it is not something that I'm particularly good at. So I'll even give myself an hour and just do it a couple of times during the week rather than for the full day. Simplicity is a skill just like productivity is, and having quietness is where creativity happens. Number three, things are a lot more likely to happen when you don't chase them. Let me give you guys an example. When I got my job, I had already interned prior to that. Now, I will admit, I had some desperate energy around my internship, but when it came to my job, I didn't have that same desperate energy. I left my internship feeling really excited, knowing that there was this opportunity to continue that job, and while I desperately wanted it, I separated myself from that want and I just said, look, I'm looking for a full-time job. If it is at the same company I interned with, that would be great. But there are a lot of other things that are gonna make me happy. And I tell you, literally the day that I unplugged from that desperate energy, my manager from my internship wanted to rehire me for a full-time role. When you are desperate for things, you create desperate energy. And desperate energy is something that totally pushes people away. It is what leads to quote unquote gatekeeping, increases your stress levels, and it's so true that the good things in life will happen to you when you are not looking for them. Number four is to invest in your friendships just as much as your relationships. It's so easy in your early 20s to be like, oh, I need to get a relationship because I am running out of time to find a relationship. And there's this whole imaginary sentiment around this that is so easy to fall into. And I think a lot of us get these external influences that force us to think that this is the case. Friendship is such a valuable resource. And I know it sounds materialistic to call friendship a resource, but it really is a place where if you have the right friend, you are going to build so much confidence. You're going to grow in your mental health so much. I've had conversations over dinner with friends that have done more for my mental health than a month of actual legitimate therapy. And the crazy thing about this is that it's tough to make that initial outreach. I think that is the most challenging part because you can always keep a conversation going. Hey, I saw that you posted XYZ on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Do you want to call and let me know more about it? This is something that I've started doing a little bit more and has had such a positive impact on my life. Number 5 kind of connects to what we were talking about before, but you're probably a lot better at things than you perceive yourself to be.
She's really good.
When we go on social media, the algorithm has this tendency to decide what it thinks the best in class is for finance, fashion, yada yada, to the point where we just believe the algorithm is feeding me this and telling me that these are the best people. That must be the truth, right? Wrong. I argue otherwise. I think a lot of us feel very incompetent because we're constantly looking at the best in our class when it comes to the things that we want to achieve in life. Let's say I wanted to become an actress, right? I go online and I look to people that are giving acting advice. Obviously, they're going to be people that have probably booked pretty good gigs. And I'm going to compare myself to them and say, well, what if I never get there? And so we end up creating this negativity bias about ourselves that is so vicious. So give yourself some credit, give yourself some grace, and know that you are doing the darn best. Tip number 6 is to block your social media during the first hour and last hour of the day. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like my emotions are the most susceptible to being influenced during these points. For example, most days when I wake up in the morning, if I don't pick up on my phone or I don't pick up anything around me, I'm really not in a bad headspace. And I think a lot of us wake up and we're like, oh, we're grouchy, we don't want to get out of bed and stuff. I absolutely feel those things too. I find that it gets agitated and it gets a lot worse when I add social media into the mix, because it's not only, hey, I'm tired and I'm trying to start my day on a good foot. It's, okay, I'm tired, I'm trying to start my day out on a good foot, and then I've just flooded my head with all of these outside opinions, all of these things that I should be doing, and yada, yada, yada. Whatever part of your brain prioritizes stuff, I feel like totally shuts off. Here's what I do to make it trickier for myself, because I do think I have a slight social media obsession. I have my social media entirely blocked from like 12:15 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I know that sounds really drastic, and it gives me a sense of urgency that like, oh, if I want to post for the day, I have to post in the morning, and I have to remember to post in the morning if it's later in the afternoon. Tip number 7 is kind of silly, but I like to stand on one leg when I'm brushing my teeth. Balance is one of those things that is an indicator of your health when you're older, so I like it. I think it's fun. It gives me a little challenge to do while I'm brushing my teeth, and it's great. Piece of advice number 8, do not set timelines on important life decisions. I said this in a lot more emotional way at the start of this video, but when you compare yourself to other people and you use other people to set your life timeline, it's a formula for failure. Life is the most unpredictable thing that's gonna happen to any of us. You might have your big win when you're 30. You might have your big win when you're 50. Okay, here it is, the gratitude journal. And the first question every morning is to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And weirdly enough, I always feel so cheesy. I have this little like, ugh moment because I'll literally write my dog almost every single day. But the truth of the matter is, yeah, I am so grateful for my dog. I love her. I think she's so cute. And I'll be honest, I don't even do it every day, but try to think about gratitude throughout my day. Like when something goes wrong or I feel negative emotions start to creep up, rather than going down the rabbit hole of, okay, what is that feeling trying to tell me, and getting into self-diagnosing mode. Sometimes I just will pause, be like, thank you, brain. Thank you for letting me know that XYZ is bothering me. Thank you for letting me know that I'm jealous of this. Thank you for letting me know that that work email is stressful. It just helps. I don't know. It's made me a lot more positive of a person, and it's helped ground me in a lot of weird instances. Tip number 10, wake up a little bit earlier. Unless you're one of those people that already gets up at 5, I do not think you need to get up at 4:15. Why? I used to be the kind of person that would wake up at 8:45, change, and just join my Zoom calls. And that was my morning. There was no routine to it. That was the routine. But gradually, I started waking up 15 minutes earlier, and now I get up between 7 and 7:30 every day. I like to have some time in the morning, ditz around. But for some reason, I feel so much more motivated to work out because I don't know what else to do with my morning. Yeah, I could pick up my computer and edit and stuff, but my brain just, I don't know, the editing part of my brain is not active at 7:30 in the morning, but the part of my body that's like, yeah, you know, I could throw on some biker shorts. It has made me objectively so much happier. And what I've done to make it easier on myself in the morning too, so that I don't have to make a lot of decisions, I just take my workout clothes, I fold them and I put them next to my bed. I will literally change in bed. Like, no joke. The only thing I will go downstairs for is my running shoes. That's just worked for me. Number 11 is avoid sitting for 20 minutes at a time. Unless you're filming a YouTube video like this, it is just good for your spine. Nothing revolutionary here. Just get your butt up out of a chair every once in a while. Number 12, happiness does not exist on a timeline. So many of us set these goals. I can't feel X until I achieve Y. And that dynamic is so painful because so many people go their entire life without acknowledging that. Slowly but surely, I'm realizing, okay, I need to enjoy the process. If I am grinding and I am working towards something, but it's something that I'm having fun working towards it, that means I can be productive and happy at the same time. Trying to make the tough tasks, the things that you're not looking forward to a little bit more fun, that's kind of the first natural step, I would say, on making your whole life timeline a lot more enjoyable. Number 13, you will never be 100% happy, so just enjoy it now. I already kind of touched on this, but if you can put on a podcast while you're doing busy work in Excel, you can put on some little lo-fi beats while you're making coffee, do it. If it makes you happy and you have fun, I listened to the Barbie soundtrack when I went and worked out this morning, and you know what? I had a good time. I was a Barbie girl. Number 14 is save only the things that positively impact you and help you create a new idea. You know how when you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, you can save things to collections or folders or whatever the frick they're called on every single platform? I abuse that function. When you see a really useful video, don't just send it to your mom on WhatsApp. I'm watching you. If something genuinely provokes a new idea, that's when you take action on it. Just storing a giant folder of miscellaneous things that you're never actually going to come back to because it's just digital clutter, you know? Number 15, I already touched on. There is no such thing as a bad outcome. Bad things are bound to happen in life. All we can really do is appreciate them for the good things that they bring along the way. This is so much easier said than done, but it's probably the most common advice that I give to my friends when we're talking through problems together. And it is the exact advice that I give myself when I find myself struggling or I find myself asking, well, why am I not successful yet? This mindset of realizing, hey, there is no actual bad outcome to this. Like, I will learn something that's going to turn into good, or something good will happen from this terrible thing. That alone gives me the optimism to look forward to something new. Number 16, it's okay to not have an opinion on everything, especially if it's new to you. Do not form an opinion unless you have information about it. We're always going to be cringy at some point, but in that same way, that also hurts your self-worth. So I can't even wrap my head around how many times I've asked a question that was genuinely dumb and then had 4 people message me after I asked the question saying, oh my gosh, I wanted to know the same thing. Of being successful is just getting things done. The truth of the matter is sometimes getting things done more is not about output. It's more about your mindset. It's more about how intentional you are with it. Like, yeah, I could just post videos that are crap quality, but I take the time and I try to make my room look good and I do my makeup because these things make me feel successful and they make me feel good on camera. To me, they're markers of success and they're just simple things that need to get done. Number 19, it is never selfish to be proud of yourself. Self-love is, again, a skill that many of us are not taught, but can give us the support when we are in a limbo and we're moving across friend groups or we're going through big life changes because it takes away the need for external validation. Number 20, when you want to establish a new habit, 30-day challenges are the key to making anything stick. I started working out in middle school, but to be honest, I always had body image issues, and that's pretty normal for middle school, so I'm not trying to say like, wow, I'm so different. But I was not good at it because I didn't have the tools to be consistent about it. When I got to high school, I started working out intentionally, and something I did was I had a notepad on my desk with the numbers 1 through 30 to represent 30 days. Every single day that I worked out, it didn't matter how much, how little, whatever, if I put on gym shoes and went outside, I would add a tally mark next to the day until I got 30 days. What you'll notice, especially once you get past week 1, it becomes so much more of a flow. I have done this with almost every other thing in my life that I've tried to make a habit, and it just genuinely works. 30 days is such an achievable amount of time, especially if you give yourself flexibility on the goal. You'll almost naturally become motivated to do more of it. This is a little extra, but I'll give myself like an extra X if I double the goal or if I go above and beyond that day, because it's just motivating. It's like, yeah, I did that. I get a little sticker. This is great. I think it's easy to do on paper. Don't get too sucked into what app you should use and this and that. You could do paper. I sometimes use TickTick, which is just a to-do list app on my phone. Number 21, speaking of paper, if you're overwhelmed, cut the digital systems. Just go back to a regular pen and paper for whatever problem you are trying to solve until it feels manageable again, until your heart rate lowers, until you feel that anxious dizziness go away. Write out what you need on a piece of paper. If you can get to that level of honesty between you and the pen that you're holding, it makes it a lot easier to address whatever is bothering you. Number 22, it's better to regret something than to grieve it never happening. This is a tricky one because I think there's boundaries. I think if you are going into something knowing that you are 100% going to regret it, probably don't do it. But no, if you genuinely just want to try something new and you want to make the leap of faith to do it, it's better to regret that, hey, I wasn't that great at it, or that didn't go as planned, and then spend the next couple of days afterwards cleaning up if it's really that bad. But addressing it, giving yourself the space to experiment, I think that's way better than just wondering what would have happened if you tried it. Number 23, we already talked about this, but comparison is the thief of joy. Joy. I'm gonna do a lot more content about this because I think envy and self-comparison are things that I've oddly had to battle with a lot lately. And 24 is definitely gonna be an age where I really reckon with this. And then 24, my final piece of advice in this video, knowledge will come to you at the time you are meant to hear it. So many of us go out, put ourselves through so much stress. Listen, if you are open-minded, you at least let yourself acknowledge the world around you, you stay grounded. The info that you need is gonna find you at the time that it needs to find you. I am so sorry. My camera died as I was filming the outro, which probably is a sign that I've talked too much. But if any of the advice in this video struck a chord with you, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. I'll see your beautiful faces in the next one. Bye, lovelies!